Hello. Hello, wonderful people, amazing people. Thank you for your practice. That's what this is all about. Thank you for liking and subscribing, right? Keeps expanding the Sangha, slowly but surely. Those of you who've recently subscribed, welcome. Welcome, thank you for being here. Stick around. Make sure you check out the video on the homepage of this channel. It'll give you some insights as to how to use the search and the breadth of this resource so you can make the most use of it, yeah? We're in the midst of reading one of Nichiren's Go shows, one in a collection of Go shows I've put together in this little book here that's available online on threefoldlotus.com or on lulu.com as a ebook or a print book. This it's a collection in a book that I've titled Nichiren On Karma because it's difficult to look through the huge compendium of Nichiren's writing alone, let alone the 84,000 teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha. Not that it's hard to find reading material. What's difficult is to chase down terminology like karma, the 3,000 different definitions that different traditions have. What is it fundamentally? What is it? More to the point, since we're practicing with our mentor, Nichiren, guiding us to practice the Lotus Sutra, the ultimate teachings of Shakyamuni, correctly, what's Nichiren say about karma, right? So, thus, I'm putting together books on these aspects of our practice, making it a little easier, a little more direct, for you to find information and for me to find things to discuss within the context of those questions. So, continuing with Nichiren's letter, if Devadatta, who he's been talking about, somebody who tried to kill Shakyamuni, right, who committed 3 of the 5 cardinal sins and in addition was guilty of countless other grave offenses, could become the thus come one of the skies and space-born king, right? His prediction in the Lotus Sutra of Buddhahood, then can there be no doubt that the other misled, evil, quote-unquote, doers, right, who committed only 1 or 2 of the cardinal sins, well, of course, they'll certainly attain the way, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to get to a place. We're trying to get to a way of being, a consciousness, an awareness, a Buddha-ness, yeah? For if the great earth itself would be overturned, then the plants and trees on it would, as a matter of course, be overturned. Well, it's a sphere, obviously, but you get the analogy, right? If something is a fundamental truth, then if one thing is affected by that fundamental truth, so too is everything else. How could it? It's fundamental. That's what he's saying. And if one can crush the hardest stone, one can certainly bend the pliant grasses. Therefore, the Lotus Sutra is called Myo. Right? Because once you whittle everything down, mentally, physically, to its most finest, most fundamental aspects, and you arrive at, where did this manifest from? Where did this what's this instantiation of? And you get to potential. Well, potential has no parameters. It has no characteristics. At the moment you can perceive characteristics, identify characteristics, or the other word I just used, parameters, you're no longer in the realm of potential, you're manifesting. And isn't that what Buddhism says about the 10 factors? Everything that is formed has these factors. Everything that is born or moment to moment instantiated, right? We're not, when you read the word born in all of this translation, Buddhism isn't talking about babies. Buddhism is talking about the moment there exists something, some form, then by virtue of the process, the engine of life, that form displays these 10 factors, these 10 characteristics. This, right? Nyoze so, nyoze in, nyoze en, nyoze ga, nyoze ho, right? Because that's no longer forming, it's formed. What we're wanting to witness, be aware of at all times, is that the formation. Because if we can key into the formation, then there's no exegesis to own, control, obsess about the forms, because they're like the confetti after the party. Don't we want to be in the party? Mule. Coming now to the subject of women, remembering who this letter is written to, we find that they are strongly condemned in both the Buddhist and non-Buddhist writings and cultures, right? The work known as the Three Records and the Five Canons of the Three Sovereigns and the Five Emperors of ancient China depict them as fawning and crooked. For this reason, disaster is said to have come about because of the three women of antiquity. Thus, women are identified as the cause of the downfall of a nation and its people. You know who talks about this a lot? One of my favorite books on sexual personae by Camille Paglia. Excellent book. She says the female energy in the universe is phonic. And the male energy in the universe, or in the world, in world history, as she is identifying historical patterns in humanity, is Apollonian. Much like, Apollonian. Forward, building, female, chaotic, destructive. Not necessarily willfully destructive, but just by her nature. Phonic, out of control. And she's talking in, archetypes. It's a fascinating book. I recommend you read it. No, it's not a book on Buddhism, but, everything ultimately is about Buddhism. Her perceptions in her dissertation, Sexual Personae, interesting read about culture, about art, about politic. Good read. I bring it up because what Nichiren is talking about kind of validates Camille Paglia's analysis, her scholarship, because this is nothing new. She wouldn't claim it to be new either. This is millennia, yeah? And Buddhism encounters it as well. Buddhism is about this life and how we live it. So why would it not identify this trend, this characteristic? The Flower Garland Sutra, the Avatamsaka, the first great teaching that the Buddha preached following his enlightenment, states, quote, Women are messengers of hell who can destroy the seeds of Buddhahood. They may look like bodhisattvas, but at heart, they are like the yaksha demons, end quote. The Nirvana Sutra, Shakyamuni Buddha's last teaching that he delivered in the Grove of Sal Trees, says, quote, all rivers and streams are invariably winding and devious, and all women are invariably fawning and crooked, end quote. It also says, quote, if all the desires and delusions of all the men throughout the major world systems were lumped together, they would be no greater than the karmic impediment of one single woman, end quote. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Women. Hang on now. When the Flower Garland Sutra says that women, quote, can destroy the seeds of Buddhahood, end quote, it means that they scorch and burn the seeds that would otherwise allow them to become Buddhas. When clouds mass in the sky, in a time of great drought and heavy rain falls to the earth, then countless withered plants and trees everywhere will put forth blossoms and bear fruit. There'll also be some flooding, but this is not true of the seeds that have been scorched. They will never sprout. Rather, the heavy rain makes them rot. Now, Shakyamuni Buddha is like the masses of clouds. His teachings are like the heavy rain, and the withered plants and trees are like all living beings. When they are watered by the rain of the Buddhist teachings and observe the 5 precepts, the 10 good precepts, and the meditative practices, all of which bring merit, they will put forth blossoms and bear fruit, renge. The scorched seeds that never sprout, even though the rain falls on them, but instead rot, are comparable to women who, though they encounter the Buddhist teachings, cannot free themselves from the sufferings of birth and death, but instead turn away from the truth of Buddhism and fall into the lower paths. This is what the sutra means when it says that women can destroy the seeds of Buddhahood. All right, this is kind of a downer so far, yeah? The passage in the Nirvana Sutra cited above says that just as all rivers and streams twist and wind, so too are women perverse and devious. Because water is a pliant substance, when its path is blocked by some hard object, such as a rock or a mountain, it will split into 2 streams or turn aside, flowing now this way and now that. Women are the same. Their minds are soft and weak, easily distracted. Though they may have confidence that a certain course is right, if they come up against the strong will of a man and find their way blocked, then they will turn in some direction quite different from the one they originally intended. There's folklore about this behavior, isn't there? Again, though you may trace pictures on the surface of the water, nothing of what you have drawn will remain. Women are the same, for lack of steadfastness is their basic character. Hence, they will think a certain way at one moment, and then a moment later have quite a different view. But the basic character of a Buddha is honesty and straightforwardness. Isn't that what we all are wanting to emulate, yeah? Hence, women, with their devious ways, can never become Buddhas. Now, hang on, ladies. He's leading to something. But this is the history of man, isn't it? And society. And Chthonic versus Apollonian. Yes, that potential is very close to the surface and instantiating potential in the female mind. Not to say that's the only place it is, but again, we're speaking in generalities, obviously. Women are doomed to the 5 obstacles and the 3 types of obedience, because if they're going to follow any kind of a path, they need to be beholden to a man because that's what a man does, forge paths. That's what they do. Hence, the silver-colored woman sutra says that even if the eyes of the Buddhas of the three existences were to fall to the ground, no woman could ever attain Buddhahood. Great perfection of wisdom says that one could sooner catch the wind than grasp the mind of a woman. Yet, though all female beings are so despised in the various sutras, when Bodhisattva Manjushri spoke the single character myo, a woman was instantly able to become a Buddha. How is that possible, given everything we've just read? Why? Because myo is potential. Just because she's of the female sex does not preclude her innate Buddha nature. She has a sentient mind. I have something floating in my eye. There's no reason she can't become a Buddha. It's in her potential to do so. Can she set her mind to it? And by Bodhisattva Manjushri saying the character myo to the woman, he sets her mind to Buddhahood. And because she has that potential, just as anything, any energy in the universe has, nothing precludes her from doing so. Now, do you understand why? See, Nichiren sometimes will set us up in a teaching, and this is expedient means, right? He'll declare several things that are samsarically logical that we all witness, and yep, that's true. And then he'll apply the Lotus Sutra teaching to it, and everything changes. So extraordinary was this occurrence that Bodhisattva wisdom accumulated, the foremost disciple of the Buddha, many treasures in the world of treasure purity, and the venerable Shariputra, who was known among the Daskam one's Shakyamuni's disciples as the foremost in wisdom, protested. Wait. They said that according to all the Mahayana and Hinayana sutras that Shakyamuni Buddha had preached in the previous 40 years and more, the Dragon King's daughter could not possibly become a Buddha. And yet, in the end, their arguments were of no avail. And in fact, she did become a Buddha, a fully enlightened being. Buddha has no sex, right? It's a clear mind of, in the flow, the momentum of energy that sees clearly life in its moment-to-moment manifestations, yes? Without the clutter of obsessions, of possessions, attitudes about things, right? Because that's not where life is. Life is in the instantiations. Everything moving, momentum, happening, living. Thus, the passage in Shakyamuni Buddha's first sutra declaring that women can destroy the seeds of Buddhahood, quote unquote, and that in his final sermon in the Salve Grove about how all rivers and streams are invariably winding and devious were utterly contradicted, and the views reflected in the Silver-Colored Woman Sutra and the Great Perfection of Wisdom were proven to be nonsense. Wait a minute, what's going on here, right? Wisdom accumulated in Shariputra were obliged to still their tongues and shut their mouths, while all the human and the skies and space-born beings present at the great gathering where the Lotus Sutra was preached pressed their palms together in an excess of joy. All this was due entirely to the virtue of the single character, myo. Well, are we talking about the actual character, myo, that you can see in that scroll? Are we talking about the meaning of a word? I hope you know by now that what we're talking about is the deep, profound understanding of the engine of life, the potential. The potential, even prior to formation, the idea of possibility without being defined. The idea of it, the potential, the profundity of that idea. How could it not trump any form, which obviously is like the rain from the skies? It's just one single manifestation of potential, yeah? Myo. It's everything. And it's nothing. Right? In this southern continent of Jambudvipa, there are 2,500 rivers, and every single one of them is winding. They are devious like the minds of the women of Jambudvipa, and yet there is one river called the Sahaya that follows a course as straight as a taut rope, flowing directly into the Western Sea. A woman who has a strong resolve, a woman who has a strong resolve, who commits to focus her mind, she can do it. That's not her natural state, but nor is it for any of us. But women, since they're identified as so chaotic, can, if she makes the effort, focus her mind. And if she focuses it on Myoho Renge-kyo, the Lotus Sutra, will be like this river. She will be direct, proceeding directly to the Pure Land in the West. Where is the Pure Land in the West? Well, it's in the West. No, it's not. The Pure Land, the West is the progression of the day, right? As the sun moves through the sky. That's all that means. It's not a geographical reference. In as much as it's not about geography, it's about the motion, the movement, time, space. Right? And the Pure Land being there is about the next moment of your life, time, space, instantiating a pure experience, an unadulterated experience, an unencumbered experience of the life you are living. Not a different life, not a different location. Changing your mind and the witness of your life without the encumbrances of the illusions of samsara. You don't go anywhere, right? Your brain doesn't change, although you're rewiring it neurologically, because your mind is the creator of all things, let alone the most thing, your experience of thingness, suchness. Right. Because when we start to experience everything as a suchness, a momentary instantiation of energy's being, suddenly the idea of such and such being static thingness, it just fades. And all of the obsessions and ownership and stresses and anxieties that we've attached to them, they move along with them. And now we're in the flow of life. It's pretty amazing. Now we're observing whole as a stream, a momentum. Myo-ho. Such is the virtue inherent in the single character myo. That if you focus your mind on Myoho Renge Kyo, on the clarity of Buddhahood, then all of these other characteristics that have been shown and described ad nauseum in Buddhism and outside of Buddhism, about life, about the sexes, about men, about women, about children, all of that, it's irrelevant to enlightenment. It's unnecessary. Wow. Talk about a paradigm shift, yeah? Nose is doing its little trick again. Must be that time of year. Myo means to revive, that is, to return to life. What an interesting choice of words. What do you suppose the translator was trying to capture here? Myo means to revive. What do you revive? Something that's no longer living. Well, previous moments are no longer living. They're just baggage. They're records of things past. Right? Like anchors thrown in the mud. Are you moving along with your life? Because if you're living, you're not standing still. Nothing is static. Everything is energy in momentum. Karma. Energy in momentum. What momentum? The momentum of the energies, actions that are bending, folding, manipulating, amalgamating energies. Mass, matter, vapor, all of it. Magnetism, electronics, electrical energies, magnetic fields. It's all energy in some form. And that form results from formation. And the formations are controlled, influenced by something acting upon it. Like thoughts, like words, like physical actions. Everything is an influence upon everything. Karma. So that's why karma is nor good, nor bad, nor anything else. It's just the formations of energies. What are you lending? What actions are you lending in those formations? See, if you're conscious of that, then you know what to expect. You know what's going to instantiate. Or vice versa, when you see an instantiation of something, you have a pretty good idea, with a clear mind, the kinds of actions that brought that about. This isn't an opportunity to beat yourself up. This isn't about flailing yourself. There's plenty of religions that'll show you how to immolate yourself. That's not what Buddhism is saying at all. They're just trying to make you conscious. Buddhism is about be aware. And then your path changes without effort. The only effort is Buddhahood. That's why that's the only thing that should be in your mind when you're invoking Buddhahood. Namo Myo Renge Kyo. Namu, I'm here now invoking Myo, potential, Ho, Renge, with my enlightenment, with my aha, with understanding, Kyo. Put it to work. Amo Myoho Renge Kyo. That's the whole ball of wax right there. Buddhahood. For example, it is said that though the chick of a yellow crane may die, if the mother crane calls the name of Tsu'an, then the dead chick will come back to life. Or, in the case of the fish and the shellfish that have been killed because of a poisonous bird called a chen has entered the water, it is said that if they are touched with a rhinoceros horn, they will all be brought back to life. Now, you know this is storytelling, right? Don't go shopping for a rhinoceros horn. But remember what this is expedient means, what this is storytelling about, is if you have a focused mind on the actual engine of life, in this case, myo, potential, and you're focused, then what seems impossible suddenly becomes no big deal. Similarly, persons of the two vehicles, Ichantikas and women, were described in the sutras that preceded the Lotus Sutra as having scorched and killed the seeds that would have allowed them to become Buddhas. But by holding fast to this single character, myo, they can revive these scorched seeds of Buddhahood. In other words, in the next moment of life, you can change all of that. What was before was a result of the formations, the constructs in your mind. You're not going to change that because everything you experience is experienced through your sentient mind. And that exists moment to moment to moment. So what you are absolutely certain of happened a moment ago with the simple invocation and focus of your Buddhahood doesn't have to be anymore. Because in this next moment, I'm changing it. I'm seeing it through Myo, Ho, Renge, Kyo. This is all in the mind, in the perception of life, our experience of life in the mind. Now, somebody out there is going to say, well, that's magical. You're saying you can change, water into wine. No, that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, have you ever heard of something they do in pharmacology called a placebo? Are you familiar with that concept? They do it all the time in drug trials. All right? They'll take a group of people and they'll say, this drug will make you feel this way. And they'll give you certain parameters. And we're going to test you guys to see if you guys experience it or you don't. And they give one group the actual drug, and they give another group bread pills. There's no drugs in it. It looks like the pills that have the drugs in it, but they're not. They're nothing. They are a placebo. But they don't tell the people that. They say, okay, we'll see how these two groups do. And damned if a bunch of people in the group that got nothing claim to experience the effects of the drug. What do you suppose is doing that? Is it magic? Is it a trick? Well, yeah, it's a trick. But those people they really experienced the effects of this drug. Because in their minds, they manifested the forms that they were told to expect. Their minds did that, not the drugs. And just like the group that got the actual drugs don't all experience the effects of the drugs. Well, how can that be? The drug is the drug. The mind, people are stubborn. They're attached to their illnesses. You give them a drug that diminishes their illness or the state or whatever it is, and they don't want to get better. So the drug, did nothing for me. If that's not pure evidence of how your mind controls your life, are you just riding along with the monkey mind? Or, my goodness, can't we take the wheel, the driving wheel of that mind and focus it? Wow, what could you avail yourself to then? Isn't this what we're always talking about in Buddhism? When I talk about influence, I'm not talking about negotiation. I'm talking about enlivening that mind, freeing it, the language of Buddhism, liberating it from its hard-fought attachments to ideas that are illusions. Don't even know they're illusions, but that's our operandi. But if we can just push that out to the formative mind, the sentient mind of moment-to-moment clarity of experience, then those constructs that are holding us back, creating traps for us, they don't make sense anymore. They don't have something to cling to. They become meaningless. They cease to influence us. Holding fast to the single character myo, they can revive the scorched seeds of Buddhahood. In other words, the actions they were taking to manifest energies in a confounding samsaric way, right? Maintaining their anxieties, now has no basis in reality. It never did. But now, with a clear mind, don't gotta be that way. They easily then become puffery. They don't need to be there. And we can experience now fully the energy, the forward momentum of life. Tendai says the Ichantikas, or persons of incorrigible disbelief, nevertheless have minds. And so it is possible for them to attain Buddhahood. Isn't that what I was just saying? Tendai said it. Nevertheless, they have minds. And so it is still possible for them to attain Buddhahood, because where is Buddhahood? In the mind. But persons of the two vehicles have annihilated consciousness, and therefore cannot arouse the mind that aspires to enlightenment. Boom. Which mind are we talking about now? He brought up consciousnesses. Remember, this is the same man that taught us 3,000 realms in a single thought moment. So Tendai cannot consider the mind of a human being, a sentient entity, without also recognizing at the same time the voluminous, unfathomable number of opinions and minds, consciousnesses within that mind. And he doesn't want to sort them out. He just wants to identify, look, this is a very fluid state. To reach a clear state of Buddhahood requires an effort to subdue those 3,000 realms and manifest the one that is common throughout Buddhahood. How do we do that? And yet the Lotus Sutra can cure them, which is why it is called Myo, or wonderful, or all potential. Yeah? Miao Lo says, quote, "The reason that the other sutras are called great, but not Myo, is simply that it is easy to cure those who have a mind, but difficult to cure those who are without a mind." In other words, ruled by habit, by the past, by the monkey mind. They're not present in this moment. Because it is the Lotus Sutra, it can cure what is thought to be incurable. It is called Myo, or wonderful. Amazing. I'm going to stop there today. I hope this is useful. I hope you can use this. I hope you got some, hey, if you got some questions, please let me know what they are, either in the comments or, as many of you are, or email me directly. I find this practice incredibly illuminating, exciting, constantly reminds me. If there's anything that confounds my practice, is that I constantly have to be reminded. Why can't I just do as Nichiren does? Live every moment of every day in Myoho Renge Kyo. That's what we're trying to do. That's our Bodhisattva mission. That is the Buddha way. Right? Buddha-ness isn't a location. It isn't a static thing. It's something that lives, breathes through time, space, moment to moment to moment. And the sentient mind is where we locate it, this clarity. So yeah, it takes some effort. By now you know this. So let me congratulate you in that effort. Let me support you in that effort. Let me do anything I can to remove doubt from that effort. And that brings us back to this channel, patrons, Patreon, PayPal, the books, like and subscribe, right? Keep your practice strong. Take care of your health. Be kind to yourself and others. And I'll see you in the next one. I promise. With deep gratitude, I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.